Hooray! Adam, we have survived another couple weeks and we are launching Confab again.
I don't have a background today, and I can't be snarky, but I was trying to find like a bullhorn or, we're talking marketing today. So I wanted to find something that was, shout. All I got was the,
What?
Can I do that? Can I?
Oh, nice. The sound effects that we're going to have now inside of it, right?
Wah, 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 marketing. We're here today to talk about marketing.
It should be fun. It's a great day, right? We had to change things up, too, because we're missing one of the Three Musketeers.
We're down a man.
Yeah.
I think, for the last I heard, I think Marcus just decided to start walking west, and we haven't heard from him in days.
Walking
I don't know.
west? What?
He might. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I'm trying to make it enticing. Marcus is, I think, taking some well-deserved time off is the case. So, yeah, no disappearing Marcus right now. But we miss you. We wish you could be here for the marketing convo. But I'm sure we'll double back at some point and talk about all these sorts of goodies and more in the future. So not too worried about it.
100% agreed. We just have to figure out, maybe chat can actually say it as well. Herb is like Forrest Gump. He started his running, right? So, but is he, it was Athos, Porthos, or what is it? Aramis? Is that Aramis, right? For the Three Musketeers, right? Which one is he?
Totally. I'll defer to you.
Okay. I'm going to leave it alone because I know where that's going to lead eventually. He gets back and he's going to be like, why did you do that? Yeah, Deb.
Why did you use that one for me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're missing Marcus too. He'll be back 2 weeks from now, obviously, but we've got to have vacations every now and then, and he needed some much-needed time off, Deb. I 100% agree with you on it. So, all of these guys on LinkedIn here for the Twitch love. All right, Neo Striker, that's awesome. It's kind of cool right now. We stream to both, right? We go to LinkedIn, and we've got some really good interaction from there. And then also we try to repeat those questions. And then Twitch as well, right? It's that streaming platform, right, where we kind of started this. So it's really cool to see the different types of people and comments that we get from the business side, which is LinkedIn. And then on Twitch, it's a lot of fun too. So,
absolutely.
Yep. Awesome, Taylor. Appreciate it. Cool. All right, guys. Well, today, let's dig in, right? We've got a lot of content to go through, right? From a marketing perspective.
We knew we could feel it. We could see the writing on the wall. With Microsoft and marketing, it's always been a challenge. Way back when, God, I want to say 2014, somewhere in there. So roughly 7 years ago, maybe 2015, but right in that pocket, Microsoft acquired, I think it was called Marketing Pilot, and then they sort of morphed that into their native marketing solution, Microsoft Dynamics Marketing, MDM for short. And there's a lot of buzz there. The buzz dissipated. It was a misfire. There were some architectural issues. There were some integration issues. It was a little clunky. And now that we're living in the world, the paradigm of data, it was hard. It was difficult to build customer data profiles. It was hard to effectively automate because it was sort of this sidestep application with its own database, and you had to do a lot of back-end work to just make it work. And there was social engagement a little ways after that, where you could listen to online trends, hashtags, you could engage. So there was a two-way street. You could post, you could consume, you could roll in analytics, and it still was limited. It was quite limited, and then it started to get more limited as APIs started getting locked down with like Facebook and all the other big social providers. So it was a great tool, and it was sort of a glimpse into what we could start expecting with like the unified interface. This was one of Microsoft's first forays into really employing HTML5 and responsive design into an application. It was it was a small scope, but it was exciting, and there were some really cool components and features to that. Flash forward to, gosh, when did Dynamics 365 marketing come out? 2016 was the first iteration, I think.
Yep, for the first version.
And it needed more. It really was, sort of that moment where anybody who had been around the block at that period, or through that whole stretch, was going, ugh, is this going to be another MDM? Is this
Yep.
going to be another social engagement? It's not. It did have some of its issues for the first few years as that architecture and as those components were being developed into the power, because the power platform was being developed simultaneously. And so we weren't privy to, consumers and partners weren't really there seeing how the architecture and infrastructure was shifting on the back end. And that was probably a big reason for, a big cause for some of the not perfect, we'll say the not perfect pieces of D365 marketing. But I
Yeah.
have to say, in the past 2 years, it has soared. And that's not exclusive to marketing. I should qualify that a little bit. We're seeing that innovation, that user experience focus from Microsoft, making things easier, making things responsive, making things snappy and easy to use to get your job done. Across apps, field service. How many awesome features have we seen rolled into that? Not just a bell or a whistle for a bell or a whistle's sake, but something that's truly meaningful, drives productivity, increases access and capability within a system for an end user. And marketing, the velocity that the product is being developed, it's quick. We're seeing a lot of
You
features
see an
come very
impact
quickly.
quickly. Yep.
So that was a little bit of a history 101 on why, to me anyway, why this MarTech is so exciting, because Microsoft is finally, I'm sorry, Microsoft, but you're finally getting it right. Like, you're finally doing this. And I mean, even against some of the ISVs and third parties, not naming names at all today, but I didn't have a ton. I'm just going to be brutally honest here. Not a ton of faith in D365 marketing about 2.5 years ago. My script has completely flipped
Yep.
based on, and this is coming from this is not a sales comment. This is not sales commentary. This is a technologist comment. This is somebody who's been in the product and has seen the product evolve and can understand the applications, the drawbacks, the limitations. D365 marketing is on the map.
That's awesome. We're gonna
Guys, it's on the map.
prove it out today, right? I mean, that's really put our exactly right. Every time I hear that, I think of like the
No
old
more.
PlayStation game. What is that? NBA Jam or whatever it was, where it was like the
And that was
huge
a
heads.
Genesis joint right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. There's a whole bunch of them that are like that. I forgot what it was though, but it was just over the top. I'll remember it in a bit. Justin, welcome. Good to see you on chat here as well. So, I guess just kind of high level, that's a really good introduction from the marketing perspective because it's not something that we've talked about a lot. I think this is the first time we're talking about it really on. Actually, I take that back. We had
We have done
like an
customer
older
insights
version,
and
right? Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
there were some. We have done a couple of spot pieces on like for instance, like Dynamics Con around that time. Shout out Dynamics Con.
Yep.
What a great time. Great people. Um, we had done some, how to maybe run intelligent segmentation with customer insights. So if you're
Exactly.
pulling in data from a CDP, pulling in data from a customer data platform, I got to qualify my acronyms here. We kind of, because we had been on such a kick for customer insights and just getting really excited about that true enterprise customer data platform and all of its capabilities and what's on the horizon. So marketing was there. It was a part of it. But now, I mean, this is a true focus today on marketing specific capabilities. Yeah, we'll talk about analytics. Yeah, we'll talk about blob exports and CI integration and whatnot. But we're actually stepping through some new features in marketing specifically, in particular the real-time marketing capabilities that we have with custom event triggers and with SMS push notifications, compliance. We have a lot of new goodies that are in that bag there. And actually, if you've been paying attention to the Microsoft events this year, primarily, what was the most recent one? Build or Ignite? Build, I think.
Is
I
build.
can't. It was the two the two that I were that I had jumped into. I mean, they focused front and center was marketing. To really paint that picture of, that real time responsiveness in marketing campaign automation to the tune of I think they had used a use case of if a certain NBA player goes and scores over a certain threshold, like breaks some record or hits a number of threes or something, they're going to, as soon as that happens, they have some system, some platform that tabulates those statistics. They're going to pull in that custom statistic model and use custom event triggers to kick off campaign automation for season ticket holders to give them a promo. Hey, before you leave the building, people that were in that building when that event happened in person, we're going to send you a promo code for 15% off that person's jersey, or some sort of that's the level that we're talking about today. And that's really what Microsoft is driving toward, is that real-time responsiveness, that real-time capability with marketing automation, and building customer trust, building customer loyalty, and really personalizing all of that content and messaging across the board. So whether you're clicking open an email, whether you're receiving a push notification, whether you're receiving a text, we can personalize everything from floor to ceiling. So it's really exciting.
That is really cool. How about
Yeah.
when we start talking about this, like before in the past, we'd always use click dimensions, right? Like that used to be the almost like I classified as the incumbent, right? Because it had a lot of great functionality. I mean, we personally, I think at Stoneridge still use that, but we're looking at D365 marketing now because it's getting this traction. I mean, I guess while we're going through this, I'm assuming you're going to kind of compare and contrast those as well, right? Because, it'd be interesting just to know, like, what does marketing do like better, or where is it stronger, right? And where are some of the click dimension capabilities possibly as well, to just compare and contrast people as part of it, because I know a lot of people, like you said, this is the first introduction to marketing, right? And they may already have click dimensions. Like, how can we help those customers obviously make that transition? Because then they've got something that's natively supported on the platform, the archiving. Like, there's tons of different things that become an advantage by staying with the Microsoft product stack. That's something just to consider too, because obviously click dimensions too probably has some great features that that are not in marketing yet. So it'd be interesting just to kind of compare those as we go through it a little bit too.
Yeah, I just one word to really differentiate the two right now is data. So Microsoft has really put data in focus for everything that they're trying to do. Obviously there are there's wrapping paper. Data wrapped in customer, like one-to-one customer personalization and engagement, data wrapped in marketing to sales handoffs and processes, so actually like internal operations. There's data that has wrapping paper of content and assets and whatnot, but all of it comes back to data. And keeping that front and center, we now have these real-time marketing capabilities that I highlighted a minute ago. That is the big differentiator, is using this data and insights and behavioral, firmographic, demographic data that we're capturing and that we're seeing, and using those trends. This is why we have native export to blob storage. This is why we have customer insights integrations. This is why we have the ecosystem. It's data plus the other number two, the other kicker here is the ecosystem. I have to say, much love to click dimensions. I still am
Exactly.
huge click dimensions nut. Have used it for years and years and years. They're a great team. They make a great product. But truth be told, the last few years, like I said before, I have come around to see what Microsoft's vision is here, and the product development velocity is pretty crazy. Click does have, when we're talking about data, they do have, their sweet spot dashboard. So they have an analytics wing to their product now that comes with a lot of turnkey analytics, turnkey dashboards for campaign performance and lower level data and data profiles and whatnot. But with Microsoft's development team, I heard like a year or two ago, I can't remember exactly when, they went in and just built a team of 100 or 200 strong or something, exclusively to focus on marketing development, like developing this product development, fixing glitches, fixing bugs, addressing issues, but then taking that to another level and rolling in capabilities with not just the major waves, but also through the year. So it's really exciting. And I mean, hand clap to Microsoft,
Exactly.
because this was a very weak spot for them for a long time. We could build lists, we could run quick campaigns for activity distribution, we could track events in the campaign entity or that table, and we could do some light marketing, but it never really had the horsepower that the Marketos or the Eloquas or any of the big players in the marketing automation ecosystem. They just didn't have it. They didn't have it, and they tried and they failed. But they came back to the board and they said, let's really focus on the data, the experience, the customer journey, and let's roll this natively into this platform. So it just keeps getting better and better.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look. We've talked quite a bit just to kind of frame things. I think it'd be just fun to kind of peel it back. So I'm going to go ahead, Adam, and share my screen, and I hopefully see, and I do see it on the stream as well, your amazing PowerPoint that we're going to go through.
Amazing. Yeah, that's like 3 screens.
I just PowerPoint.
I just wanted to, kind of set a stage, and a lot of our prospects and customers have seen a deck like this or something very similar. But I just we've talked and kind of pontificated about why it's exciting, a little bit of the history, but to really set a why D365 marketing, why a native solution stage, as well as some of the capabilities, the functionalities that we're going to see in the system here in a minute. Number one, we hear all the time, Scott. How often do you hear? It would be really nice if I didn't have to log into 4 systems. It would be great if I didn't have 3 different tools. How cool would it be to have everything housed in one spot, a one-stop shop for all of my marketing work streams, and not just marketing, but 2 sales handoffs or from service handoffs or what have you. So that access and user experience factor is huge, and we've already kind of talked about that. We've already hit on that very briefly. Having that single interface, jumping between your sales hub, your customer service, omni-channel, field service to marketing, and all of that living on that next box over the same customer database. This is with one with a Marketo or with one of those bigger players, that's a sidestep application in a database. You have to link the two up. You have to build the handshake yourself. And there are native tools, you like to make the integration happen, or some helpers, some wizards, but it's not the same database. It's not natively Dataverse. So having it's a CDS, poo on me. That should say Dataverse.
Yeah.
My stuff is a little outdated.
We caught that.
Synonymous.
We caught that. Chat got it too, I could tell.
But having that all in one spot, not just the UI and the user experience and being able to have that agility between your applications and your functional areas, but then also having all of your email impressions, having all of your campaign automation insights, having all of your service tickets, having all of your work orders, and being able to see that at the top of the pyramid, seeing your customer profile completely across the spectrum. That's powerful. That's really powerful. And we don't have to provision a different environment or integrate with a completely different database to make that happen. This is injected right into your production environment. This is using your existing customers, your accounts and your contacts, your activities, all of that stuff. So that's the big why. That's the big driver. In terms of the actual functionality, this is just kind of scratching the surface here, but just a quick rundown. The visual campaign designers. So in terms of building your automation, if I send an email and wait for a day, is there engagement? Do I have link clicks within the content of that message? Yes. Okay. Throw them down a certain path. No. Let's throw them down a different path. So we can differentiate and really kind of key in on what those engagement patterns and how that automation flows through in a very visual way. So you'll see like drag and drop. The analogy I use is we've got a big recipe and here are all the ingredients we're going to use and kind of slide around. So we have that visual component to it, but it's not just automation. It's not just send an email, wait for something to happen, do another thing, send an email. We can template out activities for sales. We can kick over follow-ups. We can really mesh the sales and marketing processes, whether that's for existing customers, prospects, you name it, with these new tools. And the third bullet down there, the real-time marketing piece, that's just we're going to spend a little bit of time there today because it's really exciting.
That's
Templating.
really cool.
I feel like I don't need to cover that too much, but why reinvent the wheel every single time? Let's start not from zero. We can template out the, obviously the emails, the campaigns. There's a whole robust event management wing to this, Teams integration, custom portal, for attendee registration, whatnot. Social integrations. We now have Instagram, so that's a part. This used to say big three. Now we have big four. Plus, we have the ability to roll in some custom connectors as well. Scoring and automation. We have lead opportunity scoring, marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads cycles, as well as event wait lists, just little things that they're paying attention to. If you have a cap on your event of 150 registrants and there are 175 people interested and signed up for it, hey, that fully automates that wait list process. So if somebody drops off, next up gets a message, next up gets a message. So we've also got some web and event, and obviously the data analytics integrations in the mix here too. So there are just really cool features that are in the system. So I should probably just shut up and
show me the software.
And show me, yeah. Is that a Jerry Maguire reference?
Yeah, show me the money. Show me the money. Here we go.
No. All right. Well, I know.
Right?
So here we are. Here we are in marketing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, so you'll see these helper screens actually in field service. We just saw the other week, to set up your frontline workers and to kind of guide the configuration, the front end stuff that you have to take care of, some of the hand holding, some of the learning resources. Microsoft is infusing this in almost every well, maybe not the first party apps. It's here and field service for sure, and then in all of the Power Platform, the portals, the Maker portal, or if you jump into PVA or if you jump into Power Automate, you're going to get some learning materials right off the bat. So this is nice for newbies, for people that want to learn a little bit more or brush up on something if they're coming, especially if they're coming from something like a Marketo or something right. like a Click or something. Yep. So. You'll see on the left-hand side, just like we do in we have in every other first-party app, we have all the stuff we're managing. So activities and dashboards up top, customer information. This does include our segments, so this is important. I want to flash a few features here. I don't think I have, or maybe I have in the past, but I'm just super hype on them. Marketing execution, so that's where we have our visual journeys, setting up our emails and whatnot. Little hit on events, but there's a whole wing. Actually, if I go down, if you see in the bottom left here, there is a whole area for event planning. It's very robust. So we'll take a peek there a little bit here today too. Leads and lead scoring, internet marketing, so pages, forms, web forms, setting up your redirects, marketing assets. So if you've got digital files, if you've got any media you're including in content, and then we've got all of our templates, huge list. So this is where again we don't have to start from zero. Let's not go from scratch every single time. We're not going to be able to demo the LinkedIn stuff today, unfortunately, but I do want to make a quick hit on that. If you're using LinkedIn Sales Nav, if you're using LinkedIn Campaign Manager and you have those lead gen forms on the LinkedIn side, we can hook these up. And we've got a couple of really cool features for that, such that if somebody fills out, if you've got a white paper or a webinar sign up or something on LinkedIn, we can consume that data directly right into D365 here, right into marketing, right into the Dataverse, and then, execute some automation or send a follow-up. The other really cool thing here too is we can sync our audiences. So if you have a number of contacts in your system and you want to be able to sync those contacts on the LinkedIn side of the fence, we can make that happen. So you can control your audiences much more robustly. And obviously with LinkedIn being in the Microsoft ecosystem now, better than ever, easier than ever. But here's where we have the real-time marketing stuff, all of this brand new horsepower. So again, we have the Get Started page if you want to learn, jump in, figure things out. But we have a new journey designer, so we can see this stuff, kind of flow through a little bit different than our normal outbound marketing. But we'll kind of compare and contrast the two here in a minute. And then we've got obviously our audience, our segments again. We do have this consent center now, so as we are kind of engaging via multiple channels. We have we probably have different data compliance factors to think about. We have GDPR, we have CAN spam, we have a lot of these compliance umbrellas that we have to be under these days. And that's not just European or Europe driven. California is driving a lot of that, data privacy and data control compliance. So we can set up those consent centers, and then these brand new ones. Hey, what are these? What are those?
Push
Uh,
notifications and
Push
text
notifications,
messages.
texts. So we'll talk
Nice.
a little bit through that too here in a minute. And then obviously the event planning, like we talked about before, set up our events, measure and capture registrations. We talked about the wait list. We have speakers and participants and all these other things. So just wanted to set the stage on kind of the what. Hey, what would we ever manage in the system? But on deck first, I at least want to show some of the updates to audience segmentation, email templating. There's some new polish there, some new features, and then we'll jump right into the new stuff, all that real-time marketing. I at least want to set sort of a precedent stage and then go into the bigger, badder, newer things. So here I have a number of customer segments. I'm going to use our US customers here, and I think it's just me in here. I don't have like a set query, but this is just sort of for demo purposes. So when this loads up, we're going to have our query blocks. So we're going to have how we're structuring our search. And you can see right off the bat here, I'll just actually, I'll peel this out here in a second, but we can include outer joins. Do you see that but not?
But not. That's pretty cool.
But not.
Exclusion.
And we got that that update in Advanced Find in D365 within the past 3-ish years, I want to say 3-4 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a big, outer joins were a big, suppressing segments, suppressing lists in your queries. That was something that was a little bit of a dance here and there within the system. But we have these, just better operators, and this is basically a visualized SQL query essentially when you boil it down. So we've got these different operators, but let me peel this out. Here I was looking for a list of contacts that had a certain related account data point that I wanted to be pulling in here, but I'll just sort of start from scratch here. So this is where we start to build our segments, and it's just so easy. Here you're going to see, hey, what the what of what we're looking for. Don't worry, I will be getting to this. This is the feature that I'm most excited about. But are we looking for leads? Are we looking for contacts? Are we looking for specific events that we're running here, or customer accounts? So here I'm just looking for contacts, and this is where we can very easily find all of our data points, and I can go through the laundry list, or I can just go in and IntelliSense type, right? So if I wanted to find all contacts where the customer size, maybe we're targeting SMB, or maybe we're targeting an enterprise pool of organizations or contacts or what have you. So we can go find, onesie twosie, bit by bit, these attributes, or I can throw in additional conditions, or I can add a group like and or inclusions or exclusions, or I can scoop to related data to find all contacts that have a parent account that's in the Northeast. This is where we can really start to massage and play with the curation of those lists. I'm most excited, however, about, I'm just going to delete that clause, this natural language input. If you haven't been paying attention to Microsoft and what they're investing in these days, AI, ML, language as an interface. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really the backbone of Power Virtual Agents now with language inputs, is using language as our UI, and this is really cool because I appreciate that accessibility factor myself. If you literally can't physically type, or if you prefer to use language, it's just great to cast that net more broadly. Let's get people in there and working and be inclusive about it. The other big win here is that Microsoft is taking this to another level. Scott, have you seen the new Power Apps AI?
I have.
So,
yep.
Using an AI model with natural language, a sentence or two about what you're looking for. In the use case I saw at Build, it was building a Power App. You have a lookup to a related table. You want a very specific query for that lookup. Not everything under the sun, but you need something that's locked in, something a little more filtered. Well, you can type in, show me all child contacts that have a certain flag field that's set, or of a certain date, or you can tell it, and that's the way they described it was, hey, we don't communicate, Scott. When I ask you, if we're building something together, when I ask you to go build a view, or a filtered view of records, or form design or something like that, I don't go, Scott, can you open up this tab and hit this drop down and go, we don't speak in those terms. What I say is, hey, Scott, can you pull me a list of customers that are working for this account in the Northeast that have engaged with us in the past 6 months?
Exactly.
That's how we communicate to one another as humans. So Microsoft is taking that into account across not just D365, but the Power Platform as well, and not just for filtering data, but for also we're getting into the territory of configuration. So, I mean, Scott, we're gonna have to figure out the whole job security thing, because if machines can just do this stuff for us,
Well, it's like Star Trek. It's just getting us closer to Star Trek, and I'm all for it. So as long as we can say, computer, give me all my active contacts, right? Like, so.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, the natural language is everywhere, though. I mean, that's an interesting technology that they've just expounded upon in, I would say, the last 5 years. Like, we've always had like dictation software, like, what was it, Dragon Naturally Speaking. I mean, I remember playing around with that back in, like, now I'm dating myself, but back in the 2000s, using a Pentium 60 megahertz computer to go through and do language recognition with it. What they're really doing, though, is they're taking it to that next level. Not only can they detect the language and now write it out, but they can, like you said, Adam, like they can detect the natural aspect of it, and even build some assumptions into it as well, right, as part of that. And they use that in Power BI, for example. A lot of probably about 3-4 years ago, Adam, if I remember correctly, we started using it more for Power BI on our natural language queries, and even voice assisted with it too. So it just, I don't know, it's pretty cool. So it looks like you're looking at contacts that have birthdays in the next 2 months.
Yeah, I typoed, but I kept it. I kept it because.
But look, it still figured it out with the typo as well.
So, it identified our variable, right? It identified our variable right away, and then what it did is structured a slightly more complex and grouping of birthdays on or after this month and next. So like this is awesome.
Yeah,
and this is where we can take that human language element and port that to how we do our business. Instead of telling, you think of, you might have a CRM admin, or you might have a system admin, somebody to help you do and execute this kind of stuff. We're now removing the need for that middle person. We're now removing the need, and this is a big boon for like Power Virtual Agents. Instead of doing this menial stuff that we're pouring hours and hours and hours weekly into, let's just have the system do it for us.
Hey, so guess what? Sabrina's getting excited about this, Adam.
Oh, am I hyped?
Here we go.
All right. Okay.
Stick with it, Sabrina. It's going to get even cooler. Let's keep going.
Even cooler. So I've spent too much time on segments, but I really wanted to highlight that. I mean, everything that we do as a marketer comes down to our segments, our customer lists, whether those are for product sales or geos or suppression lists. If we know that we don't want to be marketing to certain people by compliance, or just because we don't want to, using something like this is kind of a game changer. And you saw I did a query first that it couldn't recognize, but this is where we get to help Microsoft out a little bit and go thumbs up, thumbs down, and that's where the learning model gets to get better. So the more people are using it, the more customers are using it, the better it's going to become over time, which is really exciting.
That's awesome.
So that's building lists. We're not going to cover some of the other pieces. Just to kind of jump into our customer journeys here. I'm not even going to cover email templates. I mean, we all get it. Email templates. It's easy. The one thing that I'll throw into the mix is that if you have like an integration with customer voice, so if you're using surveys or other Microsoft tools within the ecosystem, it is very easy to stand it up and then use those customer voice, the surveys and the blocks within the content of your email. So if you've been in marketing before, you'll see that things are sort of polished up. Things are a little better looking, a little easier, a little bit more intuitive. But this is where we can drop in our media, we can drop in surveys, we can drop in all the elements that we need for our email templates. Like I said, I'm not going to cover too much here. The one thing in terms of like accessibility and compliance I did want to at least call out is our checkers, our check content. So this is where if you're looking to land in more inboxes and you're worried about canned spam regulation, well, go to your content checker, go to your spam checker, and it will actually spit back, low, medium, high values based on certain parameters that it defines in checking all of the content within your email. So here I even have a details breakout of why I'm getting a low risk rating based on the content that's in my email template. So host name is long, your message is mostly, so the more robust your templates become, the more details we'll probably have here. But we also then have, we talk about accessibility and inclusion. If we have folks that are colorblind, if we have folks that, might need high contrast or something like that, hey, great work, no known accessibility issues. It's just great that Microsoft is kind of leading the charge with that accessibility in content, in outbound content. But the magic happens here in the application when it comes to our automation. So up on deck first is the customer journey that if you've been in there, you know it. It's our visual designer. So if I go to this splash campaign here as our example, this is that recipe that I talked about. So end to end, we've got this design. We know how we want this to flow through. Here is essentially a kind of like a drip campaign. So we're starting with a segment. Oh, there's Kaylee. Oh, Kaylee's segment. We had Kaylee's one. Yeah. Anyway, we're starting with our email send. So these are the ingredients. We have these different steps we can take along the way. If I click one of these little plus, these nodes in here, we can include additional splits, conditions, weight conditions. We can take actions to maybe run system automation if we wanted to link up with our LinkedIn campaign manager, if we wanted to create sales leads and kick off the process. So we've got all of these different pieces we can use along the way. And, it's very visual. And this is where I can click into any of my email artifacts and decide not just the, what kind of email I want to use, but the details. So is this a commercial or a transactional marketing email? Transactional being updates, legal updates, things of that nature, commercial being just true to form marketing. And then we have down below, what I really like is the smart scheduling. So you can dictate manually if you want. I don't want to send on weekends and I want to maybe push this out on a certain day of the week, or hey, we can flip that switch and the system, the automated scheduling, the system will learn. This is sort of that intelligence we talked about a little bit, where it will learn on a contact by contact basis when somebody is much more apt to open an email. So it will actually send on a contact by contact basis that email when, Scott, you're most likely to open it up, or when your customers that are working for a certain account in the Northeast are most likely to open up those emails, and not for the account, but for the person. And that's powerful. So getting more emails and more inboxes with our spam checkers, scheduling more emails at the right time with our smart scheduling. And then we've got this very, very visual flow here. And you can see that I have additional elements here too. So if people are engaged, email send, link clicked, they're engaged. Another email send, maybe there's an additional engagement pattern that we're capturing here. Let's kick a phone call to sales. Let's make sure a salesperson, a human being, is going to follow up with them. So we can structure this very visually and then gain insights along the way. I don't think I'll have anything in here, but we're capturing engagement patterns over time. We're capturing hard bounces, soft bounces, all of those different things. So we've got this campaign automation, but now let's go jump into the new world, because I've already taken 40 minutes to set the stage. So here we have this whole real-time marketing preview. I should put a little asterisk here. Technically is in preview. So there are some limitations. There will be enhancements. There might be changes. So if you are jumping into this and you really want to start using this stuff, just be cautious of some of those pieces. Primarily with SMS text messages, you can only send transactional text messages right now, not promotional commercial messages. So with the preview, just be mindful of those sorts of things. But with the journeys that we have now, a little different than the outbound marketing journey designer that we just saw. This is the updated designer. So when I jump in, I just whipped up a sample, like a little customer loyalty program. So the whole use case here is we're actually tapping into customer voice. So if somebody submits a survey, we can even evaluate the value of the survey results. So if it's 4 stars out of 5, 5 stars out of 5, we can key in on that data. But here I'm just using a blanket. If a response was submitted submitted at all. The baseline for me is I care that they engaged, not what those values of engagement were. So if they engaged, I want to then throw them down the path here. Now, this is really exciting, Scott. Channel optimization. We've talked about intelligence in language as a UI. We've talked about the intelligence a little bit in our customer insights integration. We've talked about intelligence with the spam checker and a few other areas. This is one of my favorite intelligence-based new features, which is channel optimization. So Scott, if you are opening SMS or text messages 9 times out of 10, when we try to engage with you, the system will learn from those behavioral patterns and send you the messaging via the right channel based on your history as a contact. So it will dictate, hey, is Scott going to is he more apt to open emails or text messages? And it will flow through the appropriate channel based on your history and based on your engagement patterns. So, if we're going to use texts in our flows here, it can go, Scott actually opens up text more often than emails or push notifications or anything. Let's throw them down that path, and then we can evaluate and kind of key in on your engagement and those insights and analytics from the right channel. So it's a contact by contact right sizing of channel engagement, which is very powerful.
Interesting.
Yeah. So here I'm starting with, our customer voice survey has been, a response has been submitted. So you can see that I have my event trigger over in the top right. I'm starting this as of 9 a.m. today. And we even have goals. If you recall I think it was build, goals was a big inclusion in Power BI.
Yep.
So having the ability to it's metadata, it's at a meta level, determine what your outputs ought to be for a particular campaign flow, a particular customer journey like this. So in my goal here, you can see I have my goal for the journey is to increase customer loyalty. So you have different pre-canned options. You can have a goal of revenue. You can have a goal of pure engagement, increasing loyalty, some more engagement, and boosting those impressions and touch points. So we have some pre-canned outputs here. We can also build our own custom goals. I haven't played with that feature just yet, so I can't really speak to it wholly, but I think this is really awesome to be able to measure, not just like our own, because we would have to, how many times with our own system, build our own metrics, build our own goals, and do that configuration ourselves. I'm not saying there's no configuration here. What I am saying is that we have a heck of a lot more features with a lot more polish and a lot more just sort of, it's intuitive and it's a little bit more automatic along the way. So we can set those goals. Mine here is increase customer loyalty. My goal is met when, this is my success criteria, when we have opportunity outputs, so for more engagement, that's really what we're driving here. And then it's pretty cool. You can discern, hey, is your goal a static number? Is it a count? Is it an aggregate? Or is it a percentage of those involved within that customer journey, within that campaign flow? Then here we have the summary of that goal down below, just like a verbose breakdown, which is really neat. So as a marketer, you think of the power of that, seeing on a flow or a journey by journey basis, the outputs and how you're performing as a marketing unit. And then I'm going into my channel optimization. So I'm determining, hey, we've got emails and text messages. I didn't include push notifications. One thing to note with push notifications is that this needs to be mobile app specific. You as a company need to have built a mobile application that's in the iOS or Android workspace for people to, for the push notification vehicle to latch onto, essentially. Okay. So we can't just randomly send push notifications. It
has to be through the app, basically.
Yeah. We have to have the certificates. We have to have the handshake. We have to have the trust. So this is a mobile app specific marketing capability. But the text message inclusion is awesome. So now we have text messages. So we'll get to the setup for those in a second here. But this new journey designer is just so polished. There's so much polish to this.
So I got a question for you. So this one example, you're doing customer voice for it, right? At this point, and customer voice is a survey tool, right? That you can create custom surveys for as part of like I think we've used it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, for just like understanding how our customers are doing, right? Like,
client
are
pulse,
they happy? Client pulse.
Customer satisfaction, net promoter score.
So, yeah.
Yep.
So high level here, what you could do is you could actually have it where, from a marketing perspective with it, when somebody fills out those surveys, that if there is an issue, like let's say that, you got a low score on a certain area, you could have that then generate a text message to the practice director to say, hey, we just got feedback and this customer is unhappy, for example. Or, I mean, it's almost it's anything, isn't it, when it comes to like customer voice, because you can have surveys that have different questionnaires as well that aren't just satisfaction based questionnaires. Am I
Absolutely.
correct on that? Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So wow, that is pretty dang powerful in my mind, because it just that instant notification of texting for people to take an action off of it. I mean,
Yep.
you could use that
Well,
in many different areas.
and we now have, and people have been asking, jumping into marketing, hey, I'm used to kicking off automation when a field changes, like we're talking discrete attributes or event triggers. Maybe you have an e-commerce platform and you have abandoned carts and you want to try to get people back. How many times have you gone to, my go-to is like DoorDash or Uber Eats or something. You go and you're like, you know what? I want to be a good boy tonight. I don't actually want to order in. And then I get out of the app. 15 minutes later, I get a notification.
Yep.
That's this. That's this.
That's awesome.
So if
Okay.
you're abandoning a cart, if you were setting up an order and you duck out of it, those are the kind of event triggers here we can now roll into the system. So it's sort of our playground. We have a lot of out of the box event triggers. You can see that we have like contact attributes that are updated or changed. We have those customer voice triggers that we just talked about within that flow.
Mm-hmm.
So these are coming off the shelf, but you can think about integrations with your back office system, any like Business Central or supply chain management, or your e-commerce platform. If you're using retail, if you're using whoever, if we can capture some sort of trigger event per contact, something that's a flag, something that's coming. Maybe we have an abandoned cart flag that gets flipped every time that happens from our e-com. Well, let's engage with them. Let's
That's pretty cool.
try to roll them back into the process, try to drive more impressions, try to or maybe try to figure out why carts were abandoned. Maybe we do tap into more of that like survey engagement and get a feel for it. But we don't want to ever over encumber our customers. At the same time, we have this insanely like just robust new real-time marketing, these capabilities that are rolled into marketing here now.
That's awesome.
And then, I just wanted to give a quick flash on like our push notifications. Again, this is going to be mobile app specific. I'll show the editor here. Very slick. You can see like the Android and iOS preview up here. The joke I like to make in my demos is, yeah, if you're still rocking a Nokia, what is it, 51 or whatever it is, or a BlackBerry Pearl or something, you might be a little out the window. But we've got our primary two players here. We've got our editor. So the cool thing with these both the text messages and the push notifications is I can include emojis and I can include personalization. So as this is getting blasted out to contacts, I'll include like a, right before this little block here, I can include like a first name, just personalize all of our messaging. Make sure that our customers feel like they're being engaged the right way, the proper way, and make it compelling. Making compelling content here. So here's where I can go and select my data field. We select the source, whether that's a lead, contact. So I'll go into my contact here, and we have some pre-canned attributes. I'll go to show more, and this is where I can then drill down into something like first name, right? So it'll read something like Scott, our customers will love it. And, I'll throw in our little slug here, first name, and include that in my content. So now you can see that we've got that dynamic data included, even in some of the, lower level messaging like text or push notifications along the way. And then we have our on-click behavior. So what is the output going to be? Is that going to open up that mobile app that you created, or is that going to open something up in a browser? And then we've got our text messages too. The text messaging service is actually pulling from Azure Messaging Services that was released, or that I think the big announcement for that was last year, or maybe late the year prior. But the text messages that we have in here, similar designer over on the right hand side. So you can see I've got my sending number here. So when you first set this up, it'll actually have you configure that sending, that primary text message sender. And then here we have our message. I can include a little bit.ly link or however you want to measure that. And then you designate is this transactional? Is this commercial? Right now we're limited to transactional because this is brand new, but this is really exciting. We even have our checking for, our checkers that are in the mix over here too. So this is great. This is
That's
great
really
stuff.
cool.
Yeah,
Nice just to have a way to communicate, right? To over communicate or to at least choose when events occur what's going to happen. I mean, like
absolutely.
I've had so many people that have said, for example, like emails. I get so many emails that actually, in some situation, texts are actually better for me to get a reaction as a consumer versus getting 5,000 emails in my Gmail or Outlook or wherever it is, right? It just
I mean, that's
allows it.
the power of that, like determining which channel to engage you by.
Exactly.
Like I have, I'm sure everybody out there, in Gmail, right? You've got your primary inbox, you've got updates for all of your services and whatnot. Then you've got that big old social bucket and that big old promotions bucket. I hardly ever drill into anything I get from a promo perspective, and that's where a lot of this messaging will probably end up.
Yep.
So you can intelligently engage, and it doesn't have to necessarily be an email, to really cast that net and still keep that level of personalization, still keep that content A+ while you're doing it.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to step through, like kind of bringing this together. We've got all those event triggers we can key in off of. We've got our segments we've already covered, so who we're targeting. We have our emails and the templates, our push, our text. So this is where I'm setting up a new journey, event-based. That's really the new real-time stuff here. I can go segment-based, kind of like the other designer, the standard outbound designer we just saw, but I'll go event-based here. And then this is where we're going to designate the start of our journey. What is going to kick it off? What is that thing that I care about? So if a new contact is created, maybe we have an onboarding process that we want to roll everybody through, or something to kind of grease the wheels to get them in the fold for maybe the customer loyalty program that we saw a minute ago.
Yep.
Here's where we can repeat. So if we want to roll people back through this with other dynamic data, we can certainly do that. I'm going to say never for our purposes here. When are we going to start it? So this is where we have some of those lower level design pieces, those configuration pieces. If I go to segment, this is where I can search for my customer
segments that we created, right? Yep.
Exactly. I think we used, what was it, US customers?
Yep.
So I'll select U.S. customers. Is this a one-time flyby? Is this a one-time journey where newly added audience members can start at any time? So very dynamic. It doesn't have to be a static date that's set on the calendar. And then there's that repeating cycle again. And then when we're going to kick it off. Let's say we're going to kick it off today.
What's funny about this? I am learning this as we go through this. So we have functionality in FinOps apps that we set up journeys as well during our freight landed cost type stuff. So this is interesting. Voyages, journeys, walkabouts, whatever it is. It's interesting how they're targeting that terminology to really kind of reflect what's going to happen in this process, right? Which I think is pretty dang cool.
Absolutely. And I always get a little chuckle out of
some of the nerves, some of the
Let's be real. Let's be real.
words.
Customer journey. It's a little soapboxy.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to describe it, but it's true. There's some,
Everyone on Confab, we're going on a journey today. Let's go on our journey.
Like, it sounds a little cheesy, but when you break it down, it truly is. You get to map out start to finish
exactly
how they're going to be, like, because we're looking at this, as a marketer. I want to understand the who's who's engaging at which points. Do we have bounces, anything in the sort of that, I don't want to say like a negative bucket, but are there kind of some housekeeping things that we have to be mindful of along the way? So that along the way phrase, I mean, that is a journey. So it makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot. I just get a chuckle out of it every time because I seriously want to do that in a demo. I just want to be like, come along.
Let's go on a journey. Oh boy. Now we're getting into it, right? All right.
Yep.
Sorry.
Well, it's because we're hitting the top of the hour here, but I just, this stuff is great, and we're just getting sort of a peek at it today. When we're usually in these demos, I'm going full, sales inclusion and going a little bit more into like A/B testing and splits and whatnot in our emails and some of those insights. But I just at least today wanted to flash some of these powerful feature. It's not just window dressing. This is powerful stuff that has been a gap for D365 marketing for a while. And this is based on community responses. This is based on understanding the competition in the market via the Marketos, Eloquas, the big players there, and really, or HubSpot, getting to that level of competing with HubSpot. That's huge, and we have now features. We have some customers that use HubSpot for sure, but think about the power of having that level of functionality right in your sales system, right in your pipeline management system, right in your CRM, D365 sales, or if you're ticketing, or if you're omni-channel, what have you. Having that natively, there's such a win there. There's such a win. And HubSpot has been it's been a gold standard for quite some time. They do great things with their marketing application, and now Microsoft is knocking on that door and saying, we're here too. And that's just, as somebody who's been passionate about marketing technology for quite a while now, it's really exciting to see the level, the parity levels come into focus, and see where Microsoft is actually, especially with customer insights and customer data, we have a leg up on some of those features.
Yeah, and I do think once people understand really the ability to be able to use data that's already in Dataverse, your contacts, your phone number information. I mean, we can get to the point here where with this segmentation, and I'm assuming this, but like I want to look at existing products that customers have bought, and that's actually occurring in, for example, Business Central or possibly in FinOps apps where you're actually doing the fulfillment and the shipments that are related to it. I mean, because we're in this Dataverse world now, we can create segmentation, for example, that we could look for values to say whether or not we've sold this specific type of item, to be able to create a journey that's much more personalized as well towards the product and services that we offer. So I mean, it's kind of funny, like when you look at third-party solutions that add to the stack, they're great solutions, but they're always usually, there's some type of integration that they have to create with it, right? And if you have customizations, or even if you have another product that's looking at a table that, for example, they use for a third-party application, it may not encompass it, right? Because it doesn't know about that field existing, for example. Whereas with the first-party apps that we have here, like we're able to really take and design things, like Microsoft is able to design things including all of that other functionality. I mean, because that's what they're looking at. They're designing a platform to be able to do that. So this is just pretty cool that they've polished it off this much. This has come a long way since I saw it.
So a long way.
Yeah.
Every day I'm thinking about applications of this. We often think about sales and marketing being in the ship together. What about field service and marketing?
Exactly.
using geofences to understand when on-site service is to be executing, then rolling that into customer satisfaction surveys, then rolling into this customer loyalty program to engage and see, how did your site visit go? Would you be interested in this pilot program or this promotional program? So we have this full spectrum: sales, marketing, customer service and omnichannel, field service, project work, and we can use this as the backbone for personalized engagement, like you said, Scott, though, like meaningful personalized engagement, not just dynamically throwing in your first name. Great, that's cool. Every system can do that, but let's base that on your behavioral score. Let's base that on what you've done as a consumer, as a customer of ours, and tailor that to you and your cohort. Like, make this something that is meaningful for Scott, for Pierre, is meaningful for for any person. So it's very exciting to now have that ability to speak in those terms, like to have the confidence that we have this baked into the platform, and man, is it slick. So,
and here's the one sales pitchy type of thing I'm going to add to this right now. Think about it this way too. If you're on the other end of this, if you're a customer, or even if you're a prospect in the life cycle of actually looking at Dynamics 365, I mean, really, it's no longer, you don't want a partner that just focuses on BC. You don't want a partner that just focuses on sales. You want a partner now that focuses on all of these technologies, because
Yep.
I go into demos now and I will start with Dynamics 365 for sales on the customer engagement platform, create quotes, do that typical order to cash lifecycle, quote to cash, right?
Yep.
And I'll go now lead to opportunity to quote to coming into as an order to fulfillment to notification now from a marketing perspective. Like I could use it for that. Like that's where the power comes in play nowadays, so to speak, from a partner perspective. So if you are looking at this type of technology, know that a partner that understands the integration layer that Microsoft has created for us on the Dataverse perspective with this is a huge differentiator, because it's, you know, back in the day, we used to just sell, for example, I was part of a company that just sold Navision, right? And we would do our CRM in Navision, and we would make the ERP application do CRM. And as we've all learned through this adventure in life so far, sometimes
Journey.
ERP, yeah, the journey, right? The journey. Sometimes the ERP app is the wrong thing to design a CRM app inside of, right? So this is
Absolutely.
beautiful to see. So
Yep.
cool. I think we are at time. We are at noon. So that was awesome, Adam. That was a lot of content to go
I
through.
talked fast and it was a
It-
little dense, and sorry for that, but we wanted to make sure we were getting the full picture here. A lot of the, not just the fun stuff, but the powerful stuff.
exactly.
And speaking of powerful stuff,
Here we go.
oh, and Scott and I couldn't remember if we already did this geeky deliciousness,
I
but
don't remember Mando.
I think it doesn't matter, because who doesn't want to see more Mando?
Mandalorian, right?
Like, especially if you want to close out here, Scott, I'll just do a little.
You're going to put that on then? Okay, so we're going to close out with the Mandalorian on stream as well, it looks like. So there we go, fully functional. Maybe it lights up as well. Of course it lights up, of course, of course. It's got to have the high tech with it. That is awesome. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone being able to make it out. Let's just do a couple of housekeeping items to wrap up our stream for today. So know that on Thursday, July 1st, we flipped this one. We were actually, last time we announced that we were going to do the virtual entities. Well, Marcus decided to take a vacation, which we can understand. No one's perfect. So next portion here, we're going to go through in 2 weeks on July 1st. We're going to go through the Dataverse virtual entities. So we're going to show virtual entity capabilities across the platform. So that should be a lot of fun. And then on July 15th, integration strategies for end user success. So what we're really going to be talking about there is how the platform, like even to this, kind of what I laid out here a little bit earlier, how do we tackle the integration strategies now with all these different systems, right? Because it's most people that are coming into it, they're like, well, how do these things talk to each other? How do they update? How do we change things, for example? So we'll go through the integration strategies that we've tackled as part of this transition to this app services market, and really just share our knowledge with it across all the products. And that's, like I said, it's a lot of fun to be involved with all of these products, because now we have that detail. But beyond that, then, I guess, we'll have a couple other things that we'll announce as well then in the upcoming weeks for more content. Yeah, I guess at this point, just stay cool. And I know it's been a little bit hot and dry in a lot of places of the country, so I'm hoping for rain in the next couple weeks, because even in Minnesota, we're getting to the extreme fire hazard is where it's going at this point. So hopefully we'll get some of that for everyone that's out there too. So anyways, thank you all for joining. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you later.
Everyone.